What is up, all you Slashaholics? Welcome back to Slash Sisters. I am Slash Sister Hallie.
She got through it that time. She did it.
I'm getting better.
And last time I checked, I am still Slash Sister Jen. And we want to welcome you back to the channel for horror movie reviews by true horror movie fans.
And we also want to let you know that this is going to be our last video ever
Of the year.
of 2024.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah.
But today we are going to be reviewing a movie that neither one of us had ever seen before, which is, I think we discussed that it's like maybe the third time that this has happened on this channel. That
doesn't happen very often where neither of us have seen it.
Right. So, yeah, we just watched this a few days ago, surprisingly, and...
You actually just watched it this morning, didn't you?
Yeah.
Literally today. I watched it a few days ago. That's right. I guess neither of us got around to watching this when it came out, which is a shame because this is actually a pretty fun movie.
Right. It's really weird because I buy movies all the time, and I had this movie for like maybe a couple of years and hadn't watched it yet. And, yeah.
Oh well.
At least seriously, guys, if you can see the studio, I have so many freaking.
We're literally surrounded by movies everywhere.
No joke.
All
no
corners. Everywhere. It's fun though.
a
It's like a movie store.
Right. It kind of. I mean, I used to work at one.
It's all right. You just brought it home with you.
Right. I literally brought my work home with me. But this movie actually started off, as we said in our last film, by a short film. It was entered into an Australian film competition by David F. Sandburg. And like we said, it did not win, but garnered a bunch of attention.
Mostly, I think, because it was short. And
it was short,
the
and
concept was
right.
really, really cool.
Right.
Like something that had not been done before. And, like, hello, everybody's afraid of the dark at some point.
So it actually has been done before Darkness Falls, but anyway.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Darkness Falls. Gosh, I haven't seen that damn tooth fairy.
But this is David F. Sandberg's directorial debut, and he did go on to do some very highly profile films, one in the horror film industry, and two in the superhero genre.
Yeah.
We said those in our last video, so I don't feel the need to repeat ourselves. But after good reception with that, it was turned in. It was basically he was approached to do this in full,
begged by a lot of studios. Actually, a
right.
lot of studios came running at him like, "Hey, let's turn this into a movie."
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we go ahead and jump right on into Lights Out, shall we?
Sure.
Okay.
We start our story in a textile factory during closing hours. An employee named Esther says goodbye to her boss Paul, played by Billy Burke.
Yeah. She then encounters a silhouette of a...
We're going to call it a shadow person for right now?
Yes.
Because...
a strange...
No. We're going to call it a shadow person right now because I'm a paranormal investigator, and shadow people scare the fuck out of me.
And essentially, until we really find out what it is, that's what she is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she encounters the silhouette of this strange woman with
I don't even know that you can identify...
just a creature, really.
Strange silhouette.
With claw-like hands, like really long fingers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only when the lights are off. She like they have automatic lights in there, and one of the lights goes off, and she sees it. But then when the light comes back on, it's gone.
Well, she actually doesn't see it first.
Right.
The clothes move. A clothing rack moves.
Yeah. Which freaks her out. She's like...
And then she starts doing the rest of her closing procedures, and then she finds the silhouette when she flips off the light.
So essentially, this opening is the short story that he did, expanded upon just a little bit.
Right. So certain times throughout this film, this silhouette creature, the shadow person, has like silver eyes. Mm-hmm. And they use reflective tape to cause that because virtually everything in this film is done practically.
Yeah, I knew.
So
it was all pretty much practical.
The only time that they used CGI was when like the lights come on and then she's removed from the screen.
Right.
So
there are some really cool scenes where the lights come on and like things happen, especially towards the end.
But they essentially had her in a suit. I guess it was like a blackout suit that they could just like completely wash her out of the frame like they did with the olden days as opposed to green screen.
Right.
But yeah, like she was decked out head to toe, complete black. you know,
Yeah.
try to make it
Really,
look
really
as
cool
as,
looking.
and then they use a lot of practical lighting too. So
Yeah.
like the scenes where there is being lit by candlelit, being lit by candlelit. It's not, there's no extra lighting or anything.
Right. Which is really cool for, it's a really interesting concept, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. She tries to warn Paul about this said figure that she's just seen, but he's on the phone and just waves her off.
Yeah, and he's on the phone. He at one point talks to his son, right?
Because his son calls him up and is complaining about mom.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not sure who he's talking to when
It's
she
some
comes
type
in.
of. I think it might be like
a doctor or something
like that
yeah.
for his wife or whatever.
That's what I was kind of thinking too. So after Esther leaves, Paul then encounters the woman as well.
Mm-hmm.
He tries to run away and locks himself into the office with the lights on.
So he ends up getting tripped up at one point.
Yeah, he's like in that same hallway with the automatic lights and everything. But yeah, so he runs away into his office with the lights on, almost like he knows what this is.
He I don't think that he knew. Well, okay, so
he might have had an inkling.
He might have had an inkling, but he definitely knew that once that she was in between the lights and couldn't come into the light, that the light was his ally.
Yeah. But yeah, then the lights in the office go out because apparently this shadow creature can control electricity in some way.
She
too.
definitely has the ability to make them flicker for sure.
Yes, and at some point make them completely go out, like later in the house. But the figure drags him off and kills him.
So, in his office, there's like a little plasticine figurine on the shelf where he grabs a baseball bat from with like a really wide, creepy smile, right? That's a nod to the original short.
Okay.
That's what...
Yeah, because they do show the creature eventually in the original short, and she's got this like big, creepy smile. Yeah. So, that's interesting.
Sometime later, Paul's son Martin witnesses his mother Sophie talking to something that just simply isn't there.
Yeah, she's like talking to a dark closet. Sophie notices Martin and comforts him, telling him there's nothing to worry about. But as Martin goes back to bed...
Well, she also says to him, "Did we wake you?"
Yeah.
Did we wake you?
What?
He notices a strange figure in the shadow behind Sophie and runs to his room and locks himself in the room.
As well he should have. We meet Martin's older half-sister Rebecca and her boyfriend Brett, who have been dating for 8 months, but she refuses to let him move in with her.
She doesn't call him her boyfriend either.
No.
Well,
no.
eventually.
Right. Even though she won't let him keep even a simple sock in her apartment.
Yeah, she throws it back out the window at him.
Yeah, that was quite.
Bitch.
It was quite funny. Though.
It was funny. Martin begins to have trouble staying awake at school, and the school nurse, is unable to get in touch with Sophie. So she calls Rebecca, and Rebecca is called into the office.
I can almost guarantee you that because the reason why she couldn't get a hold of Sophie is because Sophie was sleeping all day. Because she's staying up all night talking to the shadow person. A Child Protective Services agent questions Rebecca at depth, kind of, about Martin's living conditions, and Rebecca tells the office that Sophie is not well. But when she is taking her medicine, she is okay.
Yeah, but it seems like, and I think even Martin says, I don't think she's taking her medicine.
Her vitamins.
Her vitamins, right. Martin tells her that their mom has been talking to a woman named Diana. Rebecca hears this and is flooded with memories, you can kind of tell, but she assures him that Diana is not real and that she also heard her mother talk to Diana, the imaginary woman, when she was a child.
A clue, Sherlock, a clue. Once they arrive at Martin's house, Rebecca gets into an argument with Sophie when she realizes her mother is actually not taking her vitamins.
Yes. Sophie tells Rebecca that she has no right to lecture her, accusing Rebecca of abandoning her, just like Rebecca's father did.
Low blow there, Mom. Low blow.
Interesting. Questioning her mom's sanity, Rebecca takes Martin to her apartment. Much to Sophie's despair, even though she did tell Martin that he didn't want to come there because she has lots of scary posters on the wall, including a ghost poster. Oh, so scary. So scary. None of those posters were scary at all.
Mm-mm.
At all.
Although there was one poster that said, like, slocked or
Something, yeah.
which I think it said it was Danish or Finnish or something like that.
The band?
I don't think it's a real band, but
Okay.
it's Danish or Finnish, and it means lights out or extermination.
Interesting. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool.
That night, Rebecca is awoken by the same shadowed woman that killed Paul. She narrowly escapes an attack when she turns the lights on, making the woman disappear.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because
the
tattoo sign
outside of her.
So everything's lighting up red and then and
when the
then
light
red.
goes out, she's there.
Yeah,
When the light comes on, she's not.
It's creepy. Yep. Yep.
And then she lunges at her.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's pretty creepy.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, Rebecca notices that the name Diana has been scratched into her floor, where that woman's where the shadow creature was at, as well as a drawing of a stick figure, and she remembers finding the same name and drawing as a child and realizes Diana is actually real.
So she has a flashback of when she was a child. She's sitting at her desk drawing a picture of Dad, Mom, me, or whatever. And then as she's sitting there, she hears a noise, looks over, there's nothing there, looks back, her drawing pad's completely gone.
Yeah.
And then she looks over into her dark closet, and she flips the light on, and then the drawing pad hits the floor, and Daddy's scratched out, and there's a black stick figure put in between Mommy and her.
Says Diana on it.
And that's what seeing in the floor triggered that memory for her too.
Yep.
Rebecca goes back to her mother's house and finds a box of medical records and research in Paul's office, which reveal that Sophie apparently had been admitted to a mental hospital as a child for severe depression.
And as a child, like, I mean, that's hard.
I would like to know the backstory of the severe depression.
Sophie
Why she was in such a depressive state that she had to be admitted to a mental institution as a child.
Yeah.
I think there's an interesting story to be told there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. While she's there, she befriended a young patient named Diana, who suffered...
Diana!
God, that's probably my favorite Michael Jackson song. It's way up there. It's so sexy. It makes me want to dance. Anyways,
not just Diana.
No, but Diana suffered from a skin condition that meant she could not go out in sunlight. Like it literally would make her skin burn. Yeah.
All lights hurt her, but like
UV
direct
light
sunlight,
especially. Yeah.
direct UV. I don't know if it's UV light.
No, I guess not, because at the end she uses the UV light and that doesn't bother her. So it would have to be like
direct sunlight.
And
quite
lights in
quite
general.
literally burns her skin, like blisters and like
yeah. She's not able to go out in sunlight.
Nope. It is believed that she is evil incarnate and was able to get into people's heads. Okay, so she's Freddy Krueger. Since Diana's father committed suicide after Diana influenced him to do so, I'd like to know how the fuck they figured that one out.
Didn't he write it on the walls? Wasn't it when
she was in my head?
She's in my head. She's in my head. Yeah. In the end, Diana was accidentally reduced to ashes by the hospital staff when they tried to perform an experimental treatment on her under intense light. Now, why the fuck?
I don't think it was just intense light, because the audio recording that Rebecca was listening to said something about using 12,000 volts.
Oh, so
I'm thinking that it might have been light with
electricity.
What is that terminology? I can't even fucking think about it now.
Like electric shock?
Yes.
Electric shock therapy sort of thing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. But she's reduced to ashes from the experiment.
Right, because the pictures show basically what looks like the silhouette of a human being in a strapped chair.
Yeah.
What tantamounts to like spontaneous human combustion, or what we know as spontaneous human combustion.
For sure.
When CPS finds out that Rebecca took Martin to her apartment because Sophie called them, they ultimately take Martin back away from her and to Sophie.
Like, I get it. Like, that's your child. I get it, I guess. But, like, he's better off. Like CPS needs to do a better job here.
But when CPS gets there, she sees all the Wicked
Scary
posters. And then
she basically kind of gives her an ultimatum, like you're gonna have to. Yeah, the bong is sitting there, but she's like, you're gonna have to change your entire life. No, you don't. She can still be like. I mean yes, there's things that
there are
change.
a lot of things
there's
that you have
things
to
that she
change
needs
to accommodate a child.
Yes, she definitely needs to. There's things that are not safe for a child inside her place, but she wasn't expecting to have a child there. You know, I mean, like, you do what you did. She should have put that damn bong away. But anyways, Sophie ends up having a conversation with Martin, and she decides to allow Martin to meet Diana,
who has already seen her and is scared to death of her.
Yeah,
but yeah, let's traumatize your child even more.
Yeah, so she turns the lights off, and Martin is having none of it and flees the house.
He freaks the fuck out.
Yeah, and returns to Rebecca, which I would have done the same thing. What the fuck?
Mind you, this was during the day too, so he was actually able to get away.
Yeah.
Rebecca, Brett, and Martin stage an intervention with Sophie about how she is letting Diana haunt them. And Sophie responds by basically saying, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. She becomes angry and flees into her bedroom. When Rebecca tries to go to the door to try and get her to leave, Sophie secretly hands her a note asking her for help, which is kind of interesting.
So, I'm torn on whether that was actually Sophie that wrote that note, because the way it was written
looks like
is
the way that
Diana wrote on paper or even wrote on the walls or whatever.
Yeah, but why would Diana want to hand off a note? Maybe to keep Rebecca there, so that she can try and end everybody's life and keep Sophie for herself.
See, I don't think that she wants to end everyone's life. I think that she.
Then why is she attacking them?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The group ends up staying. Rebecca, Brett, and Martin obviously end up
Yeah.
staying the night at Sophie's, intending to get help in the morning. To avoid an attack from Diana during the night, they rig the house up as brightly lit as possible with candles, lights. They hide flashlights all over the damn place.
They had like a hand
right.
flashlight,
Mm-hmm.
which
was a fucking cool ass flashlight.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, like that was pretty much their saving grace. It was the only thing that really worked against her, because everything else she was able to have some kind of an effect on.
Mm-hmm.
So, this ends up being useless, though, when Diana cuts the power to the entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
The whole neighborhood goes black.
Right. When Rebecca goes to the basement, leaving Martin alone in his bed, to try to get the power back on, Diana traps Rebecca and Martin, who
Martin
wakes up and
down,
freaks the fuck out and comes down to the basement, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
They don't say that because this is a PG-13
Yeah,
film.
he's got the camera, or he's got a candle, and that he carries the candle. That's really the only way that he's able to get down to her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then
and
they realize it's a trap.
Rotating.
Yeah.
And everything to get down to her with the candle, because otherwise, she did grab him with the candle at one point.
Yeah. But yeah, they basically realize it's a trap.
A trap.
And they're in the basement, and...
Oh, wait. It's a trap!
It's a trap!
Admiral Akbar? Yeah, okay.
It's a trap!
I know, I'm stupid. I'm a nerd. What can I say? I can't help it.
But Diana then attempts to kill Brett, because Rebecca and Martin are trapped in the basement. She attempts to kill Brett, who ultimately gets away because he gets out of the house, and like she's got him lifted up, and he hits the key,
The
like
fob
the
on-
key fob on his keys, and turns the headlights on, and he drops to the ground. I love that effect.
I love
really
that
fucking
effect,
cool.
but I was pissed off when I saw that he got in the car and drove away.
I know, and like Rebecca and Martin are like, what the fuck?
Did he leave us?
Did
No,
just
he
leave
wouldn't
us?
do
And
that.
yeah, Rebecca's like, no, he wouldn't do that. He's coming back. He's coming back.
Despite being injured, Brett does get away, drives away, and leaving Rebecca and Martin trapped inside the basement to fend off Diana, dirty Diana.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on their
by
own.
themselves, right?
Yeah. So, and they do, like, Martin finds, like, a UV, they find, like, a bunch of Halloween decorations, right?
They find, like, Halloween decorations, and then they find a bunch of papers.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was, like, excess papers from Paul's office or whatever, but they
Right.
start burning the papers to create more light.
Yep, in the little, like,
in the
burner
little
or whatever,
room,
yep.
and then they find Martin finds the black light.
Blacklight, yeah, it's like a blacklight bar.
Yeah,
Which does not affect Diana. They are able to see her, though.
they don't know this yet, though.
Right. They figured that out as they're being attacked by her in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not powerful enough to ward her off, but it does make it able for them to see her.
Mm-hmm.
Brett then comes back to the house. Oh wait, no, before that, they're in Sophie's room, and Sophie confronts Diana, finally, trying to tell her to spare her children, but
Yeah, she basically says something along the lines of, "If you hurt my children, I'll push you away again."
Mm-hmm, yeah. But she tries, she has her bottle of medicine in her hand, and she's basically like, I'm going to try and take this medicine to get rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
And Diana knocks the bottle out of her hand.
No, she knocks her across the fucking room and
she
out.
Sure does.
Knocks
her ass
Sophie
out.
hits her head on the dresser across the room, gets knocked out, and when she does wake up, the pills are fucking gone.
Everywhere, yeah.
No,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
gone.
Oh, yeah,
They're
that's
gone.
Right. That's right.
Diana took the fucking pills
Yeah.
away from her.
Yeah.
In the basement, Martin and Rebecca find the blacklight that we were just talking about. Rebecca is able to clearly see Diana with it after wandering through the basement and finding mad writings.
Mannequins and weird writings on the wall. And
Interesting note, those mannequins were not placed there for production.
really?
The house that they used, which ironically enough was also the same house they used in Ouija, the Source of Evil, or
Yeah,
whatever.
Origin of Evil. I think
Origin
it's
of
called.
Evil,
Yep.
yeah. Those mannequins were already in the house. So they just utilized
They just left them there.
Yeah,
That's,
they utilized
that's awesome. That's great.
But there was all these mad writings all over the walls that could only be seen with a fucking blacklight for some reason.
Mhm. And we assume that those came from Diana.
Oh, well, yeah,
when
no.
she's been
right.
trapped down there.
Yeah, because she's been trapped down there because... So, we find out that... we know that Diana killed Paul.
Right.
Martin's father.
Right.
And that's
She
what led
also
to...
tells...
But that's what led to Diana getting back into Sophie's life.
Right.
But then she also tells Rebecca, I'll kill you the same way I killed your father.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll get rid of you the same way I got rid of your father, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So then
we
she
find out that
knows-
she actually killed Rebecca's dad as well.
Exactly. They thought that he'd just been gone and ran away.
Yeah, that like Sophie told him that he just took off, left.
I think what Diana actually said is, I'll hide your body the same place I hid your father's. I think that's exactly what she
That's
says.
the line. Yep.
And then as she's walking around with the black light, looking at all these different mannequins' faces, she sees one that turns around that actually is Diana.
Yeah.
But not in the silhouette form, in flesh, in
Yep.
blood.
Mm-hmm.
But
Which
scarred
is weird
horribly.
because when she does flash the light on her, it burns her skin, like
Mhm.
there. Okay,
Mhm.
so she's got a physicality. At
She
least.
has some type of physicality, but only in black light reactive environments.
Yeah, or in the dark.
Or in the dark, she's just a shadow. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Brett does come back to the house with 2 police officers.
Ooh, I feel bad for those
Yeah,
cops.
so do I. When the officers end up freeing Martin and Rebecca from the basement, they also see the shadow of Diana and try to go after her, actually.
The male
Bad
cop
idea.
actually puts at least 3 rounds or 4 rounds into
Yeah.
Diana that have absolutely no effect because it's in the dark and she does not have her physical form.
Yeah.
So she kills him.
Yeah.
The female officer goes in after him, calls for backup first.
Yes, thank God she does.
Right.
because-
Officer down, need backup. Goes in, and yeah, she gets murked too.
Yep. Yep. But Rebecca and Martin are able to get back up from the basement.
Mhm.
Rebecca goes back alone for her
She
mom.
forces Martin into Brett's arms to get him out of the house to
Right.
protect him, and then she goes back alone for
Yes.
for stuff.
And basically they go and just like sit in front of the car lights, waiting for the police
Smart.
to get there.
Very
Yeah,
smart.
Yeah. Diana, so as she climbs the stairs, Diana reveals to her that she had killed Rebecca's father years ago, but he had tried to help Sophie recover from her trauma so that she could be a good mom, but he didn't want that.
Diana didn't want that.
Diana didn't want that. Yeah, she got rid of him.
So Diana reaches an arm out through an open door that's cracked open about this far, puts her arm on Rebecca's shoulder, and that's when Rebecca flips around the black light. Because apparently the black light prevents her from phasing into shadow form.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's like the only logical explanation I can think of, even though there's an actual other light source there, because the black light's there, it prevents her from phasing.
Okay. Makes sense.
Right. So she actually ends up injuring Rebecca for trying to help her mom, but as Diana prepares to kill her, Sophie, who has recovered by this
Woken
time,
up from being knocked the fuck out by Diana.
appears with a gun in hand from one of the dead officers, I'm guessing. Even though it looked silver when she was holding it, and officers do not carry silver pistols. They're all black blocks.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was just a gun that she had
Could've
lying
been.
around someplace.
Could have been.
Or maybe Paul had it, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
To me, it didn't look like the officer's gun. Just
you're right.
putting that out there. And tries shooting her.
That won't hurt me.
Which is funny because, like, when she's shooting, the light from
Flashes.
the gun,
the flash,
and you can see her, but
So-
it's not doing anything because she's a shadow person.
right. So it's interesting that that happened that way because, and I've referenced Darkness Falls whilst talking about this. Darkness Falls was a film that came out in 2003.
Yeah.
And they played a lot with like shadow because I'll just tell you a little bit about this one real fast. It's a tooth fairy that if you see her, she'll try to kill you.
Right.
But she only can exist in the dark. So as long as there's a light source around, you're safe.
Yes.
And they toyed with how much dark is enough dark to manifest her in that film.
Sure.
So the fact that
It's been a long time since I saw
right,
it.
it stuck with me because it haunted me for a few months after watching it because I unfortunately do suffer from nyctophobia. Sometimes, like if it's extremely dark and everything.
I get that. But I mean, like, even, I think I said, maybe it was before we started recording, but at some point I said this, but like, everybody has been afraid of the dark at some point. Maybe it doesn't bother you all the time. Maybe it's not something that like really like gets you, but everybody has been in a situation where it's so dark that you're like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah.
Like, I've had to be in my basement when the power was out before, and that is a very scary situation. You can't see anything. I mean, it's pitch black. It'd be like being down here
With all the lights off. Right.
Yeah, and that's a scary feeling.
So, like I said, the fact that the muzzle flash was enough to make her disappear is interesting because how much light is enough light to make her go away?
Right. And how far can she get into the shadows before she disappears?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But Diana says those bullets ain't gonna do shit. To which Sophie replies,
This will. There's no you without me.
Sophie has realized she is the tether for Diana to exist in this mortal realm, and decides to
unalive herself.
off herself to save Rebecca and Martin. And when she does, pull the trigger.
Mom, what are you doing?
Saving your lives.
But when she does pull the trigger, before she even hits the ground, Diana is diving at her and then like just
Disappears.
burns away.
Yep.
Burns away. which I thought was an interesting
Yeah,
effect.
for sure. So basically, I mean, she basically says there is no you without me.
Mm-hmm. Which she had figured out.
Yeah. She said that earlier in the movie too. I think right before Diana knocked her out. Was when she was trying to take the pills. She's
Right.
like, there is no you without me.
Right.
And basically she realizes that she's the tether for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But as Sophie's body falls to the ground, Diana disappears at the same time.
After a long night, Brett comforts Martin and Rebecca in an ambulance outside of the house, and the lights flicker inside the ambulance, but Brett assures them that Diana is truly gone. But is she?
That's the end of our story for now.
Because
according to Wikipedia and lots of articles,
right,
they were greenlit for a sequel right away.
And it's David F. Sandburg does have intentions of following through with the sequel.
Now, how they're going to do that, I really don't know.
So, we discussed this before we shot this video, but the original ending played out a lot like what we got, but there was also a little bit of a time
extension. Yeah,
there's a little bit of a time jump of them both dealing with the consequences of their mom killing themselves basically in front of them. Mm-hmm. And the producers didn't like this ending. They tested it with the test audience, and it didn't test well. Everything like that, but.
Which is funny because, okay, so the test audiences didn't really like that either. Like, why would you make a sequel if the test audiences didn't like it? And that was where your sequel was going to go.
Well, so I don't know if this is where the sequel's going to go.
True, because this was what, 2017? 2016? So, I mean, really, it's been 8 years.
So they could have come up with a better concept since then. But apparently Diana was also tormenting another family that was unbeknownst to Rebecca and Martin and Sophie and all this other stuff.
Right.
But Rebecca and Martin are a little bit older. They know how to deal with Diana, and they intervene trying to stop her again. And that was the original ending for this film that test audiences and producers said no go, and they just ended it basically with Sophie's suicide and then the fallout of that without dealing with the consequences of that.
Right.
So there is a potentiality for a sequel that they could play off that. Maybe Diana befriended somebody else in the asylum as well, and she's tethered to somebody else.
I mean...
So, I don't know. I mean...
For me, I feel like it's a perfectly whole story and we don't really need to expand on it. I really don't.
I would love to see it expanded, or maybe do, like, something similar happen to another person.
Or it would be interesting to see a prequel. And what actually happened to Diana and how...
That could be interesting too, like them as children in the hospital and everything like that. Because Sophie got better and got out of the hospital, and that's when Diana was effectively murdered by the hospital staff. Yeah, that would be
really interesting to see.
For me, this is a bloody machete up.
Yeah,
straight to fucking.
I really liked it. It's a quick movie. It's only an hour and 20 minutes.
I can't believe it took me 8 fucking years to watch it.
Yeah, no shit, me too.
I'm so glad that we did. And
I have to admit, there was a period of time, especially when my daughter was really young, where I just like music, movies, everything just like
lost interest for you.
It wasn't that I lost interest. It was just that it was like there was the focus shift.
No,
you know,
I get it.
So
when you have a kid, your focus does shift.
Yeah, and
I mean the same thing happened with Linus a little bit too.
For sure. Like I think you just get so focused on, especially when they're babies and stuff, So this definitely got lost in that mix for sure.
Oh yeah,
she was only 3 years old when this came out, so it was definitely
during
that period of time that
you were also dealing with other things at that time too. But yeah, 2 Bloody Machetes straight from us to you. And if you have not seen this, definitely go check it out because it is definitely worth the hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's a quick watch and it's a fun ride. I enjoy it.
Be warned though, if you are triggered by shadow people, you will get scared at this.
It's very jumpy. There's a lot of jump scares. There
were a couple scenes, and fortunately they were in the trailer. But like when Diana was like lunging at Rebecca in her apartment, I was like, nope, that's a hard nope.
See, she gets freaked out by like shadow people and ghosts and stuff, and I'm like teeth and nails. I'm like, nope.
Now, see, gore doesn't faze me, but I believe
most gore doesn't faze me either. Most gore actually makes me laugh, but
nowadays, yeah, right. But years ago, it was a different story for us. But me as a paranormal investigator, believing in the afterlife believing in I've seen
paranormal movies get to me a lot more than like slashers and gory
but I have seen so much video evidence of shadow people existing that nope, that's a hard fucking note for me. If I ever go to investigate someplace and there's claims of shadow people, I'll probably pass on that one.
Sorry.
Sorry, you're gonna have to find another paranormal
Yeah.
investigator. I'm not getting that shit attached to me.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting attached, we are going to get this out of here because we are no longer attached to this. Or 2024, and I almost hit my cat too.
Yeah. I didn't see her over there.
Yeah, she's standing. It
I've
landed right in front
heard
of
her,
her.
in case you hear in the background little jingle bells or anything like that, she has been wandering around the set a little bit this video.
Yeah, she has.
That's okay.
So what do you want to do next?
We got to start a whole brand new year. And
So a brand new movie that we've never seen before?
I
think
think
we
that's
just
a
did
great
that.
idea. We did, but do we have another one that we haven't seen yet? No.
The next movie we have planned for you is part of a franchise that we've done that we're going to wrap up literally within the next 2 weeks for you guys. So come back here in 1 week's time when we cover...
Oh, no. Nope. You missed.
Yeah,
Couple of
well-
them fell. She has them all organized in order over here, and I try not to look because I like to have the surprise just as much as everybody else. But I did just look and I saw it. So I'll go ahead and tell y'all, we going back to my franchise. I don't want to call it my favorite because I think my favorite's probably Evil Dead. But we're going back to Scream, baby.
The abysmal 2022 Scream
I like
5. This one was okay. Scream 6 can take a sugar frosted fuck off the end of my big fat infected toe.
I like Scream 6 too. I like all Screams.
Well, there you
Can't
have
help
it. We wanted to cover them now. But no, seriously, come back here in 1 week's time when we dive into Scream again, post Wes Craven
Yes.
for the first time.
The first time since Wes Craven passed away.
But we do get 3 original cast members coming back, and
we get a brand new story. Well, 3 original cast members and the ghost of another one.
yeah, don't get me started on that one.
Yeah. But come back next week where we are going to unwrap Scream 2022.
Until then, be sure to slash that subscribe button,
Stab the like button.
and ring that gray bell so you don't get lost in the mix and stay up to date on everything that we are doing on YouTube.
And until next time, we will see you all
In the afterlife.